Another weekend review dawns upon us. We had a bit of a short week this week because it was Memorial Day for the US. So stuff or activity in the market tends not to be drastic while that's going on, and even the hangover bits kind of afterwards. So not much has happened really this week. We're kind of stuck in this range here between this kind of resistance up here and this key support level here for the market. So, in terms of the scenarios that we mapped out last week, uh, I think I've learned some more bits as I start to do these more and more. But I think maybe one of the downsides is maybe plotting a bit too far because I think this is anticipated, but it's best just to plot up to here, right, or up to here, or up to here. So good lessons as we put these together and start to improve them. I think I put scenario three as my most likely, but I don't think um, that's what reflected in my drawing. So I think I messed that up. So the weak bullish reversal was what I was aiming for. So if we think it was basically more, I think number two potentially. And what I was expecting is, so this was the Friday, so over the weekend we'd done that analysis, and my thinking was it's probably going to bounce. I think that's the most likely scenario. It doesn't mean it can't continue to go down, but I just don't see what the catalyst is. There's no catalyst at the moment. All the tariff stuff is up in the air. It's a holiday weekend. Yeah, that's what's really making me think a lot is what is the catalyst? What could the catalyst be? And it can come out the blue. And I mean that for both sides, both bullish and bearish. The catalyst, obviously, that enabled us to float higher was obviously tariff related. I know people have mentioned a lot about Taco Trump, and those small bits of good news continuously has been positive. The markets don't like it. Bonds are definitely showing that they don't like it. So a float of good news has taken us to this level. So yeah, so in terms of where we're up to, yeah, we floated up to this level and now we're kind of stuck. We're stuck here at this level. So next week could be interesting, but again, we're just thinking of what is the catalyst going to be to kick us up or kind of downwards, because we're now closer to the all-time high, which is a 613-ish, than we are, yeah, from most other things. Key level of 600 could again also be a key psychological level. But what keeps me, I guess I'm more neutral than anything now. I've gone from being -1 around here, even though we're up to here, and that -1 for me is I'm slightly bearish. I have a slight lean towards being bearish, and that's where I see the most likely outcomes. But now I think I'm nearly neutral because just things keep getting bought up, and you can't really ignore it, even though you might not think it's rational to do so. So I think I'm more neutral than anything. If you put a gun to my head and have to choose, I would still choose on the bearish side. I think that's where the potential is, because we have to kind of sometimes zoom out and think we came a long way in 2023, especially 2024, right? We have come a long, long, long way. And some key pieces of information still stuck in my head. So around here, there were some articles I was reading around a lot of fund managers and investment organizations, entities are very much, there's not much spare cash sitting around. Basically, we're fully invested. So that was kind of prompting the question of, well, who or what, I guess both, is going to take the market higher? What great things might happen in the economy this year that might take us further, especially if the capital's already been deployed. So I know a lot of this stuff gets the blame for Trump, Trump and tariffs, and now we'll get back to kind of floating forever. But I just see, in terms of my long-term view, just more long term, I think I'm still -1. I still feel like I'm neutral towards slightly bearish, because this was pre-Trump coming in. And obviously, people at this time were not taking tariffs seriously at all. No one around here was. November, December, January, and so these sorts of big monster moves. Look at that; that is amazing price action. But we can kind of start to see more and more pullbacks, more and more and more, and eventually we kind of float around indecisive at this point. The tariffs obviously kick us lower, but this is a big move. This is a big move down, and look at that volume there. That's serious. That is selling. And when we think of investment organizations, they don't make big decisions or drive this down if there's not, more long-term thinking at play. Yeah, tariff and Trump's can interfere with that, but I just feel like maybe there's more there. So zooming back in, let's look at a couple of scenarios for what we have. So these are my new kind of ones I've mapped out. Sorry, these kind of new ones I've mapped out here. Well, actually, before we get on to that, in terms of the news that happened last week, GDP, unemployment claims came in pretty standard. Yes, the unemployment numbers are a bit higher, but I don't think a one-off value at the moment really tells us too much, especially when we know that there have been quite a few layoffs in the government. So not exactly a shocking number. The other number that was very interesting was pending home sales. That is a significant miss. So people are not wanting to sell their homes at the moment. So that's a really interesting number. Because what I'm looking for in the next month, in June and into July, is, because what we haven't seen yet is how will the tariff stuff start to affect economic numbers. And there's obviously a delay there, right? There's a lag, and we're not seeing it yet. But from reading around, it seems to be we might start to see those in June, the effects and how much, etc., etc. So in terms of catalyst, that's really interesting. So that pending home sales is really interesting. So I'm definitely keeping tabs on that. And we can also look at what's happening next week. But likely scenarios I'm looking at next week, 1, 2, and 3 are basically kind of the same, really. I'm just not sure what the catalyst is going to be to drive us either way. So I feel like we might get stuck in this range, is number one. I think there's a high percentage chance of that happening. So that's my most likely scenario. Because I just don't know what the catalyst is going to be to take us further, up or down. I think 2 and 3 just reflect we may dip above that level, but the move will be weak for both 2 and 3. So not much conviction from either side, and we kind of maybe fall back into that range. And 4 or 5, I think 4, both bearish and bullish, which just kind of maintains my neutrality a little bit, is I just think we've seen that big move up since Trump's, and yeah, we just got to respect that, right? And it's, even though it might not be too rational, it's still floating that general direction. So yeah, and same for 5. Not sure what the catalyst is going to be. That's what I'm interested in. That's why I'm kind of neutral as we wait for those numbers to start to appear. So let's just have a look and see what's coming next week. So 1st to 7th of June. What I am actually keeping an eye on, because I don't often pay attention to it, but I'm learning more about it, is bonds. And yeah, so what some bond stuff's happening. I know it's a lot of it's been, well, some of it's been linked to Japan. So I've been keeping an eye on the Japanese bond yields. Have been quite interesting, and might play a role in the US's stuff as well. Some complicated stuff I was reading around it, but the bond yields and bonds are quite linked between the US and Japan, not China. So there are a couple of auctions next week. So even though they're kind of low effects most of the time, there's the 10, 30 year, not French, but the Japanese have the 10 and 30 years. Because there was an interesting 40-year bond this week. That was interesting, right? It was unexpected levels for that. But in terms of the US specifically, not too much happening Monday. But I just wondered, well, what happened to some of these numbers? So ISM PMI, manufacturing prices. I think it's been slightly contraction territory for a little while, so not expecting big misses. Again, maybe the numbers will start to reflect next month. Same with prices. Powell speaking could be interesting because I wonder if they've got any more data yet to change their opinion. But I doubt. I guess Powell's going to say too much that he hasn't said already. That what they won't say in the next FOMC. So if he's hinting anything, it'll be interesting. But don't see that as a driving or the catalyst we're looking for. Again, same with job openings. Not expecting that to change too much. These could be quite interesting, I suppose. I guess put them all together. Employment change, ISM services, worth keeping an eye on that one. But yeah, so we'll have to see what earnings. I mean, our hourly earnings could be quite interesting as well. But just not sure these are the catalysts that we need that we'll see reflected from, say, tariffs and other pieces. I think people are waiting on what the Fed are going to do, potentially. Do they start to see the numbers? Maybe things don't soften, maybe they do soften. And that's the catalyst that people are waiting for to kind of launch us a bit further. So going back to the market, that scenario is just for this week anyway. Not getting too far ahead of ourselves. Just playing it week by week. Difficult to have a long-term thesis, isn't it, at the moment? But in terms of what I traded this week, because I bit of a short week, didn't have much conviction, no real clear direction on SPY again. So I think, I'm not trading a huge amount at the moment. But I ended up taking Roblox, like back in here, hoping for a bit of a better breakout. But the volume was low on these quote unquote pullbacks, so not too bothered. Oh, excuse me about those, but yeah, probably could have stayed in Roblox to be fair. But the market, that's what I would be really happy to keep going, and I would have added here on this day. Instead, I took profit in the morning, big gap up. I was happy to take my profit there. It was like a gain of what's that, 80, 85.20 to 86.20, like $1 and a bit. I think I took from it because I just don't have confidence in the market. Didn't think we were going to break that upper level, so didn't want to hold that over the weekend. So I was just happy to take that profit in that, to be honest. But Roblox can quite easily re-enter that. Really good volume on this day, really good. So could always re-enter. And it was another one. Entered it around here. Really good breakdown, smashing through those levels on high volume through A VWAP E from earnings, which I always like those plays. And then in the morning, again, because I'm not interested in holding that over the weekend, I took profits down here. Slightly fat fingered it, to be honest. I wasn't trying to take profits, I was trying to set up a limit, trailing stop order, but I kind of fudged it up, but it triggered like around here somewhere. But again, nice trade, a nice move, because I just don't have the conviction to hold. So yeah, took nearly $2 on that one, isn't it? Something like that, 87.56. Yeah, something like that, $2. So, and we're nearing support here. Again, I don't have the conviction from the market to take us there. So yeah, we'll look to some other stocks as well. One stock I maybe like this week, Roblox is still another, but Eat I think is quite nice. A really good PA, price action, as the market moves sideways, good relative strength. Chewy might be another one. Yeah, look pretty good. But having those stocks that have relative strength, I think, is really important. But I also want stocks that maybe have a bit of support underneath it. Chewy has a great D1, really like that. But I would like to see something that is, trying to break out. Lots of lines on snow. Could be a candidate. GV, Tesla, GV I think has been quite good. Yeah, GV. Hims, I saw someone take Hims, nice bounce off there, something like that might be quite good. Bit of compression here, offer a bit of support potentially, and yeah, potentially we could ride that up to that 65 level, which would be a couple of dollars. So this is what I'm looking for. Yeah, it's kind of things that might have a bit of support underneath it. So as I scan this weekend, that's what I'll be looking for. Yeah, getting above AVO, that's a nice pick potentially. Starting Monday, we could, depending on what it does, like if it gaps up massively, might not be as interested in it. You can see there might be some resistance around there. And Annette, same, yep, happy with Annette as a pick. Still might have potential. Apple bounced pretty hard towards the end of the day, but a couple of other stocks did as well from the Mag 7. But definitely a weak D1. It has lots of resistance above it as it tries to break through those. But there's lots of potential picks out there. I think I found some of these potential candidates that maybe that's what I'm kind of looking for again is give me resistance above it that will act as support for our short position. But I want it to break this AVWAP E level. Yeah, that's what I want it to break. I want it to break it and I want to smash through it on good volume. Not done it yet. COHR could be a good one. Market bounced pretty hard towards the end of the day. Stock, not really. So some candidates there. So yeah, just going back to the scenarios, it's just keeping it tight, keeping it light. Difficult to see what's going to happen really. We just need to wait for that catalyst to give us some strong direction. Can day trade, but I think Friday epitomised what we're seeing. These kind of V's, constant V shapes, right? Like sellers, then buyers, or buyers, then sellers. There's just not much of a clear direction for us to kind of follow. Again, bam, then bam, bam, kind of bam. But there's just not enough conviction to kind of go downwards or upwards. But I think, yeah. Anyway, that's my thinking for the week, my market analysis for the week. Continue working on those scenario plannings, finding some picks, quite good. Again, recommend using ZenBot to look through those. That's it for me.